Welcome to Blue Monday with me, Les, Dave, and this week, following on from the success of the Dargans father-son combo on Mailbag, we've got Rodger and Rory on. Lads, how are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
I brought Rory on for some positivity because I think everyone needs it at Christmas and they're fed up with my negativity. And he's half full, maybe fully full, to be honest with you. And I tend to be slightly more empty, just in case no one had noticed.
And whereas most of the time, I'm struggling to find the glass most of the time. So that's my outlook on stuff. Let's start with some positivity then. Another good draw. I think after the, let's say, debacle at Man United, I think to get us 5 points now after that 4-0 thumping, it's really pretty good, isn't it? We've shored up the defence nicely. And it was another good point, wasn't it, Rog, yesterday?
Has to be. And now we just need a draw at the Emirates and a draw at home to Forest. And I've got my 7 points.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean,
You're nearly there. You've surpassed my 5, so...
It's got to be. It was a great, of course, it's a wonderful point. You can't dress it up any other way. The result is fantastic. The performance was a little bit better, a bit more attacking, some more opportunities. Pickford made some good saves again. And it's good. Of course it's good. And I'm not going to mention the fact that, we haven't scored in 6 of the last 7 games. We've had 4 0-0s. I'm not going to mention that at all. It's just focus on the positive, take the point and move on. Because that's what I've been told. Is that right?
Well, you said you weren't going to mention it, but it's part of your notes.
I mentioned it by accident because I've
written it in your notes.
Yeah. I mean, this is a rerun of last season. Look at it, last season, right?
Yeah.
So this is where we are. Only Southampton, who are bottom, have scored fewer goals than us, right? But only the top 4, which is obviously the Red Shine and Arsenal and Chelsea and Forest, have conceded fewer goals than us. And that's exactly the same as last season, is it not?
Yeah.
I think only the top 4 have conceded fewer. So that defence, Maresca says we're one of the best defences in Europe. Well, great. Long may it continue. We just need to find a way of putting it in the onion bag. And that's the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, the turnaround from the start of the season where I think we conceded like 14 goals in our first 7 games or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
Rory, is it too easy to attribute it to Jared Brantwaite coming back? Because he's the common denominator, really, isn't he? I know he was part of that aberration at United, but is it too easy to say it's him, or what do you think there's anything more to it?
I think high level, that is the reason why we're better, because he's a better defender than Michael Keane and whoever was playing in that back line in the first 3 or 4 games. I think Dyche has somewhat simplified it at the Emirates and at Chelsea, which I think we're more likely to keep a clean sheet against better teams because we take the 20-25% and we don't aspire for anything more. Whereas against Southampton, when we went, we could have got on the ball more and tried to win the game, but we still could have kind of sunk back into our defensive shape against a team that we didn't need to do that. And we conceded then, and we haven't conceded to Arsenal or Chelsea, which is just bizarre when you look at it on paper. So I think Brantwaite makes a big difference, but I also think Dyche's sort of tactical mentality approach to games is pretty much the same game to game, and it does get us unstuck against teams where we can be more competitive. And it suits us when we play teams that on paper we shouldn't be as competitive against.
Yeah, I think on that, I think the glaring thing yesterday, and it's been the case in a few games this season, is that we keep missing gilt-edged chances. We picked up on this, didn't we, yesterday, Dave, on post-match? Jack Harrison's chance, he got to score, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has to. He has to take it early. He has to believe in himself.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the issue you've got there is it's such a fine line, isn't it? When you've got a manager that has made his career in football all about keeping clean sheets and solid defensive sides, and the problem we've had with him is that he just insists on sticking with that and not doing anything else with the ball, going into the second half, going into the opposite end of the pitch. And I was thinking before we started there, do I feel like I need to eat some humble pie here with Sean Dyche? And I'm not too certain about that yet, because of what we've spoken about with the narratives being in the show for the past few weeks in terms of Sean Dyche and wanting him out and whatnot. It certainly hasn't changed for me, because you look at yesterday. That's the best Everton are going to do against these sides, and of course getting a point away at Arsenal is huge. Getting a goalless performance away at Arsenal is huge as well. I think Maresca's comments were really interesting as well after the game. With Dyson, you mentioned Branthwaite there, and I think it's interesting because I'm not sure if we were on a couple of weeks ago, just after he came back. Doesn't look as good as he was, I think.
Yeah, we said that.
Yeah, I think so. And we'll go on to talk more about Pickford again. Who I'd give him player of the season already if it was up to me, to be honest with you, because I think he's just he's the reason, he's the glue that holds us together, to go with the quote of various things. But yeah, I mean, you perform the way we do, and then it comes to gilt-edged chances like that. It's unforgivable when you've got a manager that makes the way you set up, that if you get a chance, you have to take it. It's not like we're going to have a few of them. It's not like we're going to be at the end of the game saying, oh, we should have scored that, we should have scored this. We're talking about one gilt-edged chance there that he's gone and missed. I know in Dye's towards the end, I'm not too, because he nearly gets snapped in half, doesn't he?
When he's closing down well there, to be fair.
Yeah, I think you've got enough people on the line there. You'd have to be quite lucky and deflect off people to go into the back of the net. But with what Dice is doing now is perfectly fine against these teams. We spoke yesterday, didn't we, Les, on how tactically that is the best we can hope for. We were fine with the performance. It's just, I mean, it's shit to watch, isn't it? Let's be honest. It is crap to watch that you're paying your hard-earned cash to go and watch Everton play like that. I mean, but I suppose the foundations of us doing any better has got to start somewhere. I don't think that's going to be under Sean Dyche, as me and Rodger have indicated in recent months. But if you want to get Everton as safe in the Premier League as early as you possibly can, then you need to do things like we have done in the last two games against top four sides. And then City's a bit of a lottery now, isn't it? Given the issue they've got right now. So I didn't expect this. What we were saying, Rodger, about how many points we thought in the in December. I didn't think we'd get one.
So I think it was just before Brentford, wasn't it? I think it was just after the West Ham game, I'm gonna say, where we drew 0-0, and they looked terrible, didn't look interested for 75 minutes. So we were all on a bit of a downer about that. I said 5 from Brentford. I think Rodger, you said 7. Dave, I'm sure you said 9. I think you
said 9. Dave was the most.
You did.
I did not include Brentford in that conversation. It was when we hit the nightmare run that I said, and you said it as well, Les. You said I don't expect any. I'm pretty sure you said that.
No, before Brentford, we did. We all said how many do you think we'll get, including Brentford. You said 9.
Who do we have after Brentford?
Wolves. No.
United. It was Brentford, United, Wolves, Arsenal, Chelsea. We did have Liverpool in there as well.
There's no way I said 9. There's no way. People will correct me about this, but there's no way I said 9.
I'm going to look back. He said 9. But it looks attainable, doesn't it?
Rodger, you normally have these things written down. Have you got my list?
No, I didn't. I don't have a note of how many points you said, but I'm with Les. I'm pretty sure you said 9. It was December's fixtures, right? Which included Wolves, obviously. Wolves was the pivotal one. And my 7 was I thought we'd I said we'd get nothing away from home. I said we'd get a draw in the derby, and we'd beat Wolves and we'd beat Forest. That was my 7.
Yeah.
Dave, I just want to pick up on something you said there about foundations. Yeah. This came to me this morning because, look, Everton, 5th, 6th bottom in the league, at home to Chelsea, 0-0, and away at Arsenal, 0-0, fantastic. And we accept those points, right? But we've shown very, very little going forward. And you talked about foundations. Now, Dyche has been there long enough to have built bloody foundations and to now be able to do something more at the other end of the pitch. If a new manager had come in, look at Southampton yesterday. They went to Fulham and got a 0-0, and their fans will be delighted. Brilliant. What a manager. He's stabilised us at the back, right? But you've got to be able to do more than just stabilise us at the back. Yeah. And if Sean Dyche had just come in, right, and taken over before Arsenal and got us those 2 results, we'd all be singing his praises. But he is a one-trick pony, right? He absolutely is. And we will survive if we keep, picking up points like this. But can you, just 4 0-0s in the last 7 games? That's not that's not that's not a plan, is it? Really, is that a future? Is that something you can really get behind?
I think the great point. Sorry, I was just going to say the great point you're making about that is how many of those we're actually sitting here talking about specifically each chance in those games. It's not like we're saying, "Oh, we did really well going forward. We missed these various opportunities." We're talking about like 1 or 2 chances in games.
Yeah, Doucoure at Arsenal and Harrison yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. You know, those things will go up on the wall in Finch Farm at some point. I think that might happen. But yeah, I think you're right there with that, because as contradicting as it sounds to say how positive those results have been, you also have to consider how low the bar is to stay in this division these days. I mean, what have we needed in the last couple of seasons? 34, 35 points keeps you in the Premier League
comfortably.
I think we're very fortunate with that, and I think that's obviously in Dyche's credit that we stay in the Premier League. But if you look a little bit, you don't have to dig too deep to realise that Everton haven't got to do what you've needed to do in years gone by, where you need 40 points. Always used to be the bar that was set to stay in the division, didn't it? It's been a long time since I think you needed to get 40 points to stay in the league, and that shows you what a number of sides are like down there. I was looking at the table today. It's basically the bottom 5 there, 3 out the bottom 5, I think. We're 4 points behind United, I think, or something like that. West Ham, somebody like that there. And, you know, I mean, do I go as far as saying that should be relatively comfortable, even for Sean Dyche, to stay above 3 teams who are worse than us? And I think just to add to that question, I think we were talking about this in recent weeks about how Everton should be comfortably better than at least 6 sides in that division. When you look at squads, when you look at options, when you look at what you have to play with in terms of the different players you can put up there, especially in regards to scoring goals. And it leads me to say that that's exactly why we need another manager, because there'll be so. I'm pretty certain any manager out there, might be tempting fate here, any manager out there could get more goals out of Everton than Sean Dyche can, and that's a massive issue that I've got there. And I also don't think the back 4 we typically play, because of the way he's drilled them, which is fine, and to his credit, he's gone and done that for the last 2.5 years, whatever it is. That can't be too difficult to keep on board the way it is if you're a new manager. So therefore, you can go and focus on what we're not doing at the other end of the pitch. So it's easy. It's easy to stay up. It's not easy to stay up, but it's a lot more comfortable, and I think people give him credit for.
I'm just gonna play devil's advocate a bit. Rory, I'll come to you on this. I think you've got, like, I mean, it's clear that if you want any sort of success in football, you've got to build it on a solid defence. That's got to be the foundation for it. Going out and trying to score more than everyone else, it very, very rarely works out in the long term. This doesn't really feel that sustainable, because it does feel like if we do go a goal behind, that's it. It's game over. But Rory, I'll come to you on this. Do you think that's down to the manager or what the hand he's been dealt? So I say that with him being there, haven't been there 3 years, and if he needs better strikers, he probably could have got them. Maybe Thelwell should have got them in that time, but with the tools at his disposal, do you think there is more goals in that team? Because you look at DCL, he's not a prolific goal scorer. None of the front line seem to be. What do you reckon? Do you think it's more down to the manager's tactics or the players he's got, or a bit of both?
I think it's probably a bit of both. But I think even with the defenders that we've got this season, we've not been the threat we were last season from set pieces. I don't think our attack is particularly potent or threatening. I think DCL's form for like 2 years really now is nothing that you can hang your hat on. And I think that we haven't created enough this season. I think his move of McNeil into number 10 has meant that we weren't that threatening from the wide areas early in the season or after maybe the first 3 or 4 games. Yeah. But I do think it's a manager thing rather than a squad issue, because I think Brentford and West Ham are games that with a different manager we'd probably be more likely to win, and we'd probably take those 4 extra points over the 2 points we've got in the last 2 games. And I think it's really strange with a manager like Dyche, who averages a point a game, that he just averages a point a game by getting a point a game. It's not like he wins 1 game, loses 2. And I think it's something as fans we're probably not accustomed to. We average a point a game, but we just get draw after draw after draw. We've drawn 7 games this season, and 4 of them are 0-0. They're not they're not draws that you think, oh, if we'd drawn that game 2-2, maybe under, you know, I don't know, under the Moyes era, we probably had more competitive games at home against the big teams going blow for blow. It's such a different feeling. Whereas yesterday, sort of just waiting for any type of update that we've conceded, and then we're sort of hoping, how do we get back into the game? Because we know if we concede one, we very rarely get back into it, and if we do, it's usually through a set piece, which we haven't been too good at this season. So I think Dyche's got it wrong more often than he's got it right this season. But I think he gets results like he has done in the last 2 games. But we want a manager that means when we play Brentford at home and they're down to 10 men for 45 minutes, we go on and win that game 7 out of 10 times. And I don't trust him to do that. And those are the results that make it safe.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. The weird thing is as well, when we did score goals, we went through that little purple patch, didn't we, where we scored 2 in 2 games. We conceded 3 in both. So we just can't have it all, can we? I just want to pick up on another thing.
We scored 4 goals in 7 games, and they were all in 1 match. I mean, it's
really good.
We're bipolar, you know, and 2 of them go goals. Yeah, I mean that's not you know, evidence of a plan that's working, is it? If you fail to score in 6 out of 7 games, and in the other game you score 4, that's an outlier, right? Any kind of statistical sample, that's an outlier. And
look at what's against as well.
Well, exactly. Yeah. The team that's got the worst defence in the league. Yeah. And we still needed them to score 2 of the bloody goals.
Yeah, they scored 2 of the goals, didn't they? So I just want to pick up on something Matt said on their post-match yesterday, actually, just about the team setup, and I found it really interesting. I don't know what Abdoulaye Doucoure brings to the team anymore, because he's not getting the opportunities to score. He's not bringing that to the team. But like Matt said yesterday, we do seem defensively more solid with him in the team at number 10. So when, obviously, McNeil, he's out injured, Doucoure's come back in. Does anyone think that does play a part in it? Because watching him play, he's really painful to watch, and I don't really know what he does. But you can't deny that the team looks more solid with him in there. And I don't know if there's anything in that. Matt just brought it up yesterday, and I just want to get your thoughts on it, because I thought it was a dead interesting point, because there does seem to be something in it. I can't put my finger on what or why.
Does he win the ball back? Does he break up play? Is that what looks more solid, or is it that he will run forward with it and then give it away?
I think he's a busy footballer, but like a bad.
He's a busy fool.
He covers ground where with Anana the last couple of years, he wants the ball to feet. He wants to do those passes where Doucoure covers space, but that should be the fundamental of any midfielder. I'm with you, Les. I think going forward, I think he's so untrustworthy, but he scored loads of big goals for us, and whenever he scores, I'm always confused of how he's done that, because he looks slightly uncoordinated from like 10 to 12 yards out of goal. He never seems to be in the right position. I was surprised yesterday that he played that ball to Mangala at the edge of the box, because I was expecting him to sort of trundle over and give the ball away. But I think he covers more ground in midfield, which means that there's less space for opposition to exploit. But I think you could have a better midfielder that did the same thing and better technically, and we'd look a miles better side.
I think Mangala's made the difference. Yeah, we can talk about Braithwaite coming in and Braithwaite making Tarkowski a bit less panicky and a bit less liable to try and get himself sent off. Those two they're a pair. They work well together. There's no doubt about it. And Ashley Young's been fantastic. You know, probably second best player of the season behind JP. But Mangala makes a difference. There's no doubt about that. And he doesn't give the ball away as much as Idrissa Gana Gueye. So, yeah, I think Doucoure is just one of those rare flukes that when he plays, we don't seem to get beat, but we don't quite understand why that is, you know?
It is a crazy stat, isn't it?
He's the lucky charm. He's Dyche's lucky charm.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, it's another coincidence, isn't it? I mean, you could make a case for saying he's a positive player for us to win games and not losing for a certain amount of time. But, you know, cliche as it is, there's 10 other lads around him there. The reason why Everton don't lose games is just, like I say, it's just coincidences there. I think it's interesting what you mentioned about Mangala there, Roger.
Yeah.
The issue I had earlier this season was playing Doucoure deeper in midfield alongside Idrissa Gueye or whoever else was fit at the time. And I just thought it was so blatantly obvious that he was so out of place there. And look, he's really good. You find these people in life who you work with really good at looking busy. He reminds me sometimes of when I worked in JJB Sports and I was walking around with a pair of trainers that someone bought. Do you know what I mean? I'd asked for about an hour that I was looking for a pair of trainers. He just seems to coast through games where you're thinking he's getting all around the pitch, he's doing something, and then at the end of it, if you actually think a little bit harder, you think, did he actually do anything there? Was he just literally there to make up the numbers? And look, that'd be harsh on the lad. When you think in seasons gone by, he's been crucial in terms of, you think of the, I mean, it's almost like Clark, sadly, the goal he scored against Bournemouth on the last day of the season. He's been, and he signed his new contract, of course. But yeah, I mean, when he plays, there's no middle ground with him. I think when he plays poorly, it's like, you know, you need to get him off the pitch. And it's very rare that he plays positively now. So it seems to me he's certainly coming towards the end of his better days. Because what is he now, 33, something like that?
Yeah, about that.
Something like that. And yet there's still a heavy reliance upon him from the manager. And that shouldn't be the case. And I think we've spoken a lot about him being a decent number 10 for us over the seasons gone by. That just seems wasteful to that position we've spoken about quite a lot, with whether you put McNeil in there, whether he'd have the bottle to put and die in there. Doucoure was relatively successful, just short of Calvert-Lewin, when they sort of had the purple patch in seasons gone by. It seems to me that's not going to come to fruition anymore. So therefore, I wouldn't start him. And yet he seems to be pivotal to what Sean Dyche has to do.
I think there's two things to that with Doucoure though. Up front, I think even if he is creating the space like he used to for Calvert-Lewin's playing positioning is so poor at the minute.
Yeah,
he's not finding that space. I mean, he's an issue now, isn't he, Calvert-Lewin? He really has become a big issue. For me, we've got to try and sell him in January.
Yeah,
I mean, just coming back on Doucoure, and it links to DCL. You know, Dyche is always talking about the analysts, and obviously we now know football is so data driven. I'd love to know what the stats are that Doucoure actually brings. What are we talking? Key interceptions, battles won, ground duels won, accurate passes, percentage passing accuracy. What is it? And the same with DCL. What does DCL do? Or that role that he's being asked to perform with no one around him, just lump it forward, chase it down, and something might come of it. So those stats that we talk about, or that Dyche keeps talking about, the analysts, I mean, surely they tell you you've got to change it. You can't, it's pointless. It's pointless. I said last week that DCL is a false 9 wearing a number 9 and being asked to play like a number 9, but there's just nothing happening from it. It's just, it's pointless. You may as well stick a lamppost up there, because the ball might bounce off it. You could play a 1-2 with the lamppost. But DCL, it's so, that's why we're not scoring goals. Go figure. Yeah. That's why we're scoring goals, because we haven't got a way of doing it.
Yeah, I said on post-match last night as well, I think that comes down to him as a player. The manager sets the team up in a specific way, but as a player, if you're not getting the ball, or you are getting the ball and then you're winning a flick on and no one's on the end of it, you drag players into position and you tell them where to play. You don't just stick in that rigid formation that the manager's put out. And I just don't think he's either not got that anymore, or he doesn't really care. Because he should be wanting to be involved in games, and he just doesn't look bothered to me.
Isn't that there's a lot of shortcomings with the manager that I keep on banging on about him, but I think it's fair to do so given the way we've had him for a while now. But do you not think when you're getting players in those particular positions, then if he's not operating in that way, why can't you make them changes that Rodger referred to earlier on? Go and make a change there, because the team is basically played in two halves, isn't it, for us? It's the back 4-5, including JP, and everybody else in front of them. What you put in front of them, maybe you put just a guy in there as a defensive midfield player, and Mangala sort of, who maybe is a little bit more in front of him then. If you were playing a game of FIFA or whatever, that would be the way things lined up, and you looked at a picture of it. But everything above them, surely there's scope there to do whatever you want a little bit, just mix things about, because Everton not scoring goals, it obviously can't get any lower than that. So why not, dip your toe in the water a little bit there, Sean, and try something different, because the back four is not going to change as it is, and we're going to take on this proud record of not conceding goals, which is perfectly fine. But it's unacceptable not to be able to create chances on the other end of the pitch. And therefore, if we're spending time talking about Doucoure and how he affects Everton in a positive way on the other end of the pitch, then that to me indicates an issue that he's not trying anything else. He's not gone with anything else. Shamiti's back fit, isn't he, as well? You've got Brozier, who I'm relatively excited to see what he can do, but comes with the caveat that these lads are not getting much of an opportunity to score goals, let alone to play games, because it's Calvert-Lewin who's insisted to play. We even spoke about Beto, didn't we? I mean, throw him in, give him a chance, something different.
Well, he'll start Beto at the Etihad, won't he? Because that's what he does.
100%.
He plays him away at Man United, away at the tough games. He'll start Beto on Boxing Day. Yeah. Of course he will.
Yeah.
I don't know.
To defend Haaland.
Yeah. I don't know of a striker that could be in a team that has scored the second fewest amount of goals in the league and still be started consistently. You would look at that kind of position and go, well, that would be the operative reason as to why you're not scoring goals, and they shoulder that responsibility. I think that he's crying out for some time out of the team. He doesn't do what he used to do, where he either stretch defenders, which means then we can, bring midfielders into the game. And I think the only game last season where you'd go, he was a proper aerial threat and a battle for defenders was the derby. And that's probably the first we've seen that since Carlo, like where he was properly up and at him and was a threat. And I think he needs some time out of the team. And I think you've got Brozier. We're only going to get 6-7 months of him. We're better off finding out if he can offer us more than what we've currently got.
Did Brozier not come on yesterday? Did he not come on? Was he not?
He
on
couldn't
bench?
because he was.
Sorry, dumbass. Yeah. Okay, yeah, parent club. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
it'd be interesting to see if he actually did, though, Roger. I think that's an adequate question to ask: is would he have actually got on there? And I'd probably think he'd get the last 5 minutes as a token gesture, maybe. And that's that in a nutshell what our manager's like.
Yeah.
Well, we've got City coming up at the weekend, which should be a very interesting game because they are in the worst form they've been in for probably about a decade. I think the record's got to turn around at some point, and Everton are usually the team that obliges in that regard.
So. Merry Christmas, Pep. Here we come. Fill your boots.
Could you pick a better? Could you pick any side in that other than Southampton? Other than South, and I was going to say this, and most people were probably going to say this at some point. Could you pick a better side to play when you're in this run, the way in which they are, than Everton at home, regardless of our proud record of clean sheets and all that? Other than Southampton, Wolves look like they're going to get a bit of a kick because they've got a new manager, because they went and did that yesterday. Maybe Leicester, that they've been shite after their first game with Van Nistelrooy. Everton would be top 2 or 3 sides you'd want to play at home if you absolutely needed to win a game to get a kickstart to your season.
Well, we're the only team United have beaten the league, haven't we, at home?
Yeah,
4-0 as well, yeah.
In games, so we were handing out a present there.
Yeah, well, there's another outlier. 4 clean sheets. Well done, Sean. But you shipped 4 at Old Trafford, and Bournemouth rocked up yesterday and put 3 past them. So
yeah, and it looks like their managers on the cusp of losing his job at like 5 games in.
I did say that. I said this to Les the other day that I don't think Amorim will see the season out at United.
No,
I think they'll get shot of him because they don't really know what they're doing. Brailsford and Ratcliffe, and if he keeps losing games, particularly at home and particularly not scoring, pressure.
Yeah, we're definitely going to approach the Man City game in the way we've approached Arsenal and Chelsea. I think that the worry for me is that without any sort of attacking outlet, it'll be like Arsenal, where it feels like we're clinging on from the first minute. But I think City have definitely got more about them to hurt us than Arsenal did. I don't think City will play. I think it feels a bit unfair to say Arsenal didn't play well against us because, you could look at it the other way and said, well, we limited them to what they could do. But I do think they had a bit of an off day. As good as we were defensively, I think they had a bit of an off day. City feels like a really dangerous game. It's one of those where it's an expected loss, let's put it that way. And I don't think we'd be
that's
too
gone.
surprised.
We don't do those anymore. Mashiri's
We don't
gone.
do them. All
we
right.
don't do it.
Oh, yeah, he's gone, hasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. We do expected nil-nils. Nil-nils. That's
the problem we got right there as well. I was just thinking as you were talking then, Les, that you'll go to Man City, and the way in which our philosophy is under the manager is that if we go 1-0 down, he would rather we stay 1-0 down than actually go and try and get an equaliser. That to me is what he's like in terms of, I don't know, there's a sense when he speaks after games and all that, and just started talking about how much the players have given and all this sort of thing, which is cliche things to say when you've got a decent result against the top side. But you go to Manchester City, say you went 1-0 down after 5 minutes, I don't think Everton would be throwing everybody in the box trying to get an equaliser late on in the game. It's just not going to happen, really, because he knows he's going to open up the floodgates for them to go the other end and score 5-6 goals, really, as what we'd be susceptible to if we didn't play deep anyway. So you go there, you can see it early. I'd turn the telly off, or I'd leave the game if you're over at the Etihad.
It's good that it's the early kickoff, though, isn't it? Because you get it out of the way.
Yeah, that's it. Enjoy the rest of your bank holiday.
If it's Boxing Day, you've got maybe a bit of a hangover, and then once that game's over, you can sort of watch the racing, can't you? Then I think you just get it out. It's dreadful if that was the 7:30 game or something. You had to wait to get battered. Not that we will, of course, because we're But if we're on the roll, more clean sheets than anybody anywhere ever in the history of football, apparently. According to Everton admin, brilliant.
But if you're Sean Dyche, if you're Sean Dyche, could you ask for a better set of circumstances where you've got, 6 weeks, 7 weeks of games to look at teams that are competitive? Maybe they have better squads, but they've achieved results against City, and it's almost like a test of his own arrogance of being like, can we go there and get a point the Dyche way, or take some of what we do well defensively and look at how other teams have been able to get at them? And I'd be surprised if we didn't play the way we played against Arsenal and Chelsea, when actually there is, Villa yesterday, and even Forest when they lost 3-0 to City, they played well. And I think there's definitely something in other teams' performances against City that it's up to almost Dyche's own ego whether he looks as that as important enough.
Yeah, well, he won't get too much credit if he just get 0-0 at City, because everybody recognises their shit. He gets the credit for Arsenal, he gets the credit for Chelsea. Absolutely fair play, but he can't come out crowing because look at us holding Manchester City, who are second bottom of the form table in the last 8 games. If you look at the stats, Sean.
Yeah, it feels like City are taking this 90s revival a little bit too literally, doesn't it?
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. They can't. I've got no time for Man City. Sorry, I just throw that.
But you still wouldn't put them past them going and win the last 21 games in a row. That's what they have players capable of doing, and that's why reiterate that Everton being the side that they play on Boxing Day, I'd be licking my lips if it was Pep Guardiola and I needed the win to sort of. I don't know, he'd ever end up getting sacked. He'd probably walk, because you talk about ego, he'd walk rather than get sacked, wouldn't he? But you get to that situation and thinking, you go and Everton. I'm not saying it's soft to play us, but I'm thinking when you're in the mire and you're playing shit, and like you said, the second worst side in the last few games in terms of points that they've got, Everton's one where you're thinking, right, everyone just park outside their box, because that's all they're going to do themselves, get a goal, and then you've probably put your feet up because they're not going to attack.
It feels very time for Everton, doesn't it? But anyway, let's end this on a positive, because this is the Positive Festive podcast. We've got Rory on for some positivity. The takeover happened, so Shiri's gone, as you mentioned. We are going. The January transfer window is looming. Hopefully, we'll be able to strengthen, which could, kick us on for the second half of the season. We've got to play all those teams all over again now. Hopefully, we'll pick up a few more points. Even if we pick up the same amount of points, we'll probably be okay. But it would be nice if we could be a little bit better and pick up more points. What are your priorities? Just go around each of you. What are your priorities in the January transfer window? We can do ins and outs. If you want to get rid of players, get rid of them as well. But what would you like to see? Dave, we'll start with you in January.
Yeah, I mean, the chat, I don't super advert there to pick myself up with the ego, but I did a really good piece with Patrick Ridge, if anybody hasn't listened to it yet, and he's talking about what we perhaps have to spend in January. And obviously many fans will be thinking, we can throw out the checkbook and be able to go and sign all sorts of players. He was saying he'd expect something around 4 or 5 million and a couple of loans. That being the case, I think, I'm not sure it was yourself, Rodger, or Rory, who said about you'd sell Calvert-Lewin in January because he's not going to stay at the end. What would you get for him? Maybe 10 million max, something like that. you're talking about priorities, that'd be one. If he's going to leave at the end of the season there, and we're talking about him being a bit of a cart horse and not ours half of the time, then he's want to go and get some money in the coffers for. And then you go and looking at getting a striker, regardless of whether he's there or not. You have to put that at the top of this list here. Everything else sort of falls into place here, and it's not too far away from being a semi-efficient side, as long as you've got somebody who can attack, have shots on goal, and be able to do so. I'd be encouraged to see what Dice can do when he's got an effective goal-scoring striker there. You think back to the likes of Ashley Barnes back in the day, and Sam Vokes and all of those. Them big lads who used to have at Burnley had half-decent records in front of goal because they were decent at finishing and scoring headers, which seems to elude Calvert-Lewin this season. So I'd look at doing that first of all. If you shift him on, or even if he's there, go and get another striker in, because it doesn't seem to be Beto. Brozier, we don't know yet. That's something I'd go and do there. And I would also get another midfield player as well, because I think we're now quickly becoming what we've agreed with Mangala and Adjissa Gay being the pivot of everything that goes on in there. If one of those two lads now gets injured, they're crucial to what we've got going on in that engine in the midfield. You're not going to drop back to Doucoure, which he has done, as we've spoken of earlier this season. You don't want that happening again, because I don't want Doucoure there being in front of our back four, because he's simply not good enough. I think I'd go and get another midfield player if we can. When's James Garner fit? Is he left?
Who knows? He was only out for 2 weeks.
All I can tell you is he's on the grass.
Yeah, well, and he'll be huge for us. He will do. When he comes back in, he can be crucial for us. But whilst that remains a question mark, I'd go and get another one out in loan. Look at somebody who's hungry to try and get regenerate their career. Come to Everton, have a great 4 or 5 months at the end of the career, and then you look like the boy Jack Harrison there, who somehow managed to do that last season and get another loan to us somehow. So yeah, that'd be the top of my list there. I think full backs, left backs. I think we can fall through to the end of the season with all that sort of thing, can't we? And then you're looking at that's like Lindstrom as well. We've got so many half-arse players, haven't we? You look at him come on, and I'm like, it looks like he's going to get blown away in the wind at times. Put a decent cross in now and again, but much of a muchness really, isn't he? Doesn't look much different than Harrison to me, even though he's a bit quicker than him. Don't know, someone that's got some sort of potency in and around where we actually need them to play on this pitch here. Which our limitations are there, not only for the finances, but why would you want to join Everton? Really, if you're trying to like a Dele Alli kind of thing, where you're trying to reignite your career, Everton's probably the last side you look at doing so. Having said that, it's probably where you're going to get game time. So, yeah, get another striker in, get another 10 in, get players where you've got a selection to do something different. Like a broken record this season, it will not take any side that we play more than 5 to 10 minutes to know what you're going to be coming up against with Everton. Change it about a bit. Just do something different. And, at least then we'd all be on here talking about, well, at least he's tried in these games. At least I tried, sort of thing, that he's tried to score goals rather than just fucking sit there, keep clean sheets. It's such a fine line that if we can see the goal, then probably not going to score. Maybe get a draw on the off chance, but that's what I'd go with.
It feels like we're a bit hamstrung there between a manager who won't sort of change how he plays and the system he plays, and the fact that we probably need signings for the short and long term, which feels like a little bit of a struggle. Rog?
Make sure you keep hold of Pickford and Branthwaite. That's the top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the top, because the minute they disappear, we start shipping goals. Yeah. And so that's absolutely critical. We need somebody who can run quickly with the ball. We haven't got anybody who can do that. I don't know who these players are, but there are clearly players, other scouts and directors of football and scouting networks at other clubs, the Brightons, the Brentfords, the Bournemouths, who spot players like this. So a pacey right winger, ideally, and we need a goal scorer. I don't care whether that's a number 9 central striker or someone who can just play across the front three, but who's able to put the ball in the back of the net who's got the ice in the veins that, oh look, there's the ball and there's the goal and I've put it in there. Those big moments are crucial. I watched, maybe you also did, the Spurs Red Shite game yesterday, and you talk about the big moments, Dave, and the chances. Harrison had his chances, and those players. There were 9 goals in that game, and they were all taken very well. They were all big moments, but the other point was that Forster was responsible for at least 3 of the Liverpool goals, just by being shit. And whereas Pickford, the key moments he saves. He makes himself big, he blocks it. I mean, 2 of them went through Forster's legs. The other one he's doing star jumps. So you need people in those big moments who can just put the ball, because we aren't going to create. We're not going to have 10 shots on goal. You've got to be able to convert 1 in 2, 1 in 3 of those chances when they come along. We don't have anybody who can do that. So the goal scorer, someone who's quick, and for God's sake, don't sell the crown jewels. Which hopefully that's the best thing about the takeover, is that we don't have to sell Branthwaite. Although I worry that United with their problems, and indeed City with their problems, and even Tottenham with their problems in the goalkeeping department, might come sniffing around either Pickford or Branthwaite. That would be very, very unfortunate.
Traffic. I think we can all agree on that. Rory, what are you looking at in January?
I think we can. I was going to say, I think we can get away with the strikers that we have. I don't think we can, but I think pace is something that we just lack in abundance. You watch any other Premier League game, apart from any game that we're involved in, and you see the game stretched and teams able to play on the counter attack. I've never watched a team that can't do that. Like every team has the capacity to sink in and break. And I think we're desperate for pace. I think the loan market clearly sucks, and we don't really operate too well in it. Apart from Mangala, I think he's probably the only one we've got right. Like, I was expecting more from Lindstrom, and thinking that he was sort of plugging that gap, and Harrison as well. But now that right side of midfield is inhabited by dribblers that can't dribble and people that supposedly have pace who don't have pace. So I think we need someone on the right side, and then I think we need another midfielder badly, because at the end of the day we can't rely on Doucoure to be sort of technically what every midfielder in the Premier League needs to be. I thought James Garner was overly reliant on Onana's presence last couple of seasons. I thought he always looked really good when he played alongside him. I'd be a bit concerned of his ability to come in and kind of fill that gap if he hasn't got, because we're not the biggest in midfield at all. But if we can go and get a striker on loan, that'd be great. But I also think we've got 4 at the moment, and we're only playing one of them. So I'd like to see Brozier get a run of the team, bring in a right mid and another body in midfield that is a bit more of a sort of powerhouse. That means that we can compete and maybe impose ourselves a little bit on the smaller team. Because Onana was pretty good for that. When we played Brentford away, or even I think it was Burnley away on Boxing Day last year, we just outmuscled them entirely
before Christmas.
But I think we need a bit of strength, a bit of pace, and
we need someone who can come in and get booked and get suspended quite quickly. Somebody in midfield who's a dirty bastard. They kick people. We haven't got that. We really haven't. Ashley Young is there for the yellow card, and he's going to have a nice Christmas. He's going to enjoy that. He's got Boxing Day off. That shows how professional he is.
It's the Duncan Ferguson booking, isn't it?
I was just going to say, it's the old Duncan Ferguson. He's already got his flights booked for Marbella over Christmas.
Yeah.
Do you know what you're just talking about, or like the common theme of a striker there? I was just thinking, bless him, someone like a Super Kev came in on loan, scored sort of 7, 8, 10. Or you remember Jelavic as well? Jelavic came in, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
He was in January, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, somebody like that. They didn't cost it. Well, I know Kev was on a loan, wasn't he, initially?
Yeah,
and
he came in March, for God's sake, because the window was different. We signed him in March.
Yeah.
That's right, of course.
You're not even looking at the elusive 20 goals a season. You're just looking at someone who can get near double figures, I think, and convert those odd chances. It's not like, it shouldn't be too much to ask for a scouting team.
When's the last time we did it? When's the last time we had a striker who scored? Well, obviously Calvert-Lewin, but when was it that we last had a season where our forwards have scored double figures?
Carlo, obviously, just stay between the lines and put the ball in the net. One touch.
I keep going back to, I don't know if you've seen I think it was a couple of years ago, there was the Real Madrid documentary, which kind of explains how Carlo left us, because he rang up asking if they had any players for us on loan. And I always think that I perhaps think that with the new owners, maybe there's obviously some contacts in Italian football, or maybe we could go back to Carlo and he might pluck us someone. Obviously he was a bit of a maverick, but Royston Drenthe did all right for a period of time in some games. But that's kind of what we need is almost like a maverick loanee that fills the gap that we don't have. And I don't know to what extent the new owners can facilitate that, but that's something that I'm probably more optimistic of potentially happening now that we've got them, as opposed to sort of fanning around in the Championship looking for a loan.
Yeah,
I would love to see how Sean Dyche handles Royston Drenthe. That
would be
be hilarious if he was in the jacuzzi with a load of prostitutes like he was.
Hey, that never happened. Come on.
Allegedly.
That never happened. Right. Dave just led us up nicely to the end of the show there, I think. But you know what? It was another good point. There are reasons to be cheerful and reasons to be optimistic. And it's Christmas time, so we should all be happy and optimistic anyway. Thanks to Dave, thanks to Rog, thanks to Rory for coming on. Thanks to everyone who's listened and supported us this year. Hope everyone has a wonderful Christmas. And we'll catch you for one more show just before the end of the year. Up the toffees.